Larry Elder apparently appeared on the Breakfast Club. I am a fan of Larry Elder. I think that Larry Elder is a legend, is a G. He's even cut down the fro. He's even cut down the fro. Shout out to Larry Elder. And I don't know if Larry Elder is familiar with these jokers on the Breakfast Club. Um, yeah, I spotted that immediately. That down there. You know what I'm saying? I spotted that immediately. But Larry Elder appeared on the Breakfast Club. Um, let's get to it.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's Steve.
All right, let me speed this up because I need to get to the good parts. I want to speed this up. Let me put it at 1.25. We're gonna be breaking this down. Somebody said Larry Elder is trash. You are capping. Let me move it a little bit forward.
MAGA. Okay. And the answer is I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all. For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic not of COVID, but of fatherlessness. 70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back.
Let me slow that down. He already preaching. You can't even move that up to 1.25. You got to slow that down. He is already preaching. He said it ain't got nothing to do with that. It got something to do with this. It's fatherlessness. It's the fact that it ain't no fathers in the home. Larry is already cooking. How can anybody in the chat say Larry Elder ain't the fucking truth?
Back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail.
Then why do people want to be single mothers so bad?
Happened in the mid-'60s with, I think, the best of intentions. A Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility.
I don't think we're gonna be able to really break this down all the way because doing this live, what they'll do is they'll try to pause the live or whatever like that, even if it's a review video. So I'm limited in the amount of how much I can play for this. I can play it, but I'm limited in the amount of I can play for this. I had to fight when I did the Vivek breakdown, but we still got that up and we got that popping. So I'll be having to fight for it. But I want to jump around, so I'm gonna hear what he got to say, and then I'm gonna jump around a little bit in order to be able to continue to play this for you guys.
You know, when I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Same demo for whites, the number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings.
So what he's saying, basically everything is self-inflicted.
It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people.
I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly, Mr. Hello.
Often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism. This is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64. KKK was still alive and well. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it.
And I've been saying this for years, and I'm sorry I got to stop it in the middle of when he's cooking again because, we trying to make sure that we stay intact and in line with the YouTube algorithm to make sure that things is working. So I'm gonna have to take some breaks in between when he's talking in order to break this down. But he is absolutely right, and I said that the number one thing that we should be advocating for is updating family court laws and be addressing the fact that we have too many homes where there are not fathers in them. Whatever side of the fence you stand on, I largely believe that the majority of women are choosing to have children by men that don't give a fuck about them, and that most men, even black men, are actually responsible participants in their children's lives, those that choose to have children, right? So, regardless of which side of the aisle that you stand on, if we not addressing an actual real problem, which is the fact that we don't have nuclear families anymore, then we are doing ourselves a disservice as a society. He's 100% right.
Left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids,
Yep.
or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy. Nobody's talking about that. I am.
Shout out to you, big dog.
What are the reasons,
Well, let me fast forward. I want to get to the. Y'all said the Tez chick is in there. Let me see. Oh, I see her. I see her.
A quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay.
You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the black family, should certainly have some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for
You said that the
improvement?
system. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're
Okay.
not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is,
Why is she so combative? I just don't understand. How you gonna say question, go on a whole soliloquy, and then tell us what it is that we're not gonna talk about? I think that Larry Elder is smart enough to understand exactly who he was running into and what he was about to run into, and that's why he dealing with it the way that he dealing with it. I think that Larry Elder understands exactly what the fuck is about to happen, and so that's why he playing it the way that he playing it. I can't. Shout out to Derek's Life Events. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. I'm reading all super chat shortly, and I'm going to open up the panel for y'all to be able to get to it. Let's continue.
you said that the system encouraged black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in
Okay.
charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats
Here we go.
that passed it.
And who were
The-
Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black
No,
people are Democrats now.
not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time, the system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions.
No, I didn't ask you that.
And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all
Got
of
it.
this.
Right, and what I'm asking, was it white people? So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down?
I can't, man. I can't, bro. I can't, bro. This shit is insufferable. It's painful. It's painful. And I know that it's painful because I've argued with hyenas on a regular basis. I've argued with hyenas on a regular basis. Here, let me address this super chat really quickly. Mr. Hylel says, if you think Larry Elder cooked, you're part of the circus. Cooked what? We haven't even finished reviewing the video yet. I haven't even started seeing the video. This is how I know y'all biased, man. This is how I know that y'all biased. Y'all not even objective enough to actually review the video so that I can see whether or not he cooked. He was absolutely right that the number one problem for me personally, that I champion inside of what's going on here in America is the fact that we don't have nuclear families. I don't really understand where the disagreement with that be. Yo, y'all so hell bent on being fucking on. Okay, I'm a part of the circus. Agreed. I'll be a part of the circus. As a matter of fact, I tell you what. I bought a new shirt. Let me put my circus shirt on. Just to make sure that y'all know that I'm the ringleader of the fucking circus. All right, give me a second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that y'all know that I'm the ringleader of the circus. Give me 1 second. I'm going to play her, and then I'm going to come with my new circus shirt on, okay? Go ahead. We going to rock with her.
The black family. It's a simple yes, just a simple question. White or black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by the left.
Correct? Okay. White Democrats,
well,
correct.
most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters. I said who's in charge of the system.
Well, who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson white or black?
Who put them in charge?
Maybe that'll help you.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay. But if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you.
All right, so now that we got our circus. Oh, that was for the guy above you? Oh, okay, cool. I got you. But I am a part of the circus now. I got my new favorite hoodie. See it? If you turn this way, you can actually see it. Ooh-wee. All right, so let's go. One thing I will say about what it is that she just said, she's trying to create a narrative in order to support her argument, and it's unfortunate because she's so focused on the white or black issue instead of being focused on who actually is. And I say this all the time. The people or who it is that you see in office is a reflection of the people. When I see, it's unfortunate that I got to break this down. We had a black president, right? And Barack Obama. Barack Obama's lasting largest memory, or the thing that he's championed the most as he has his presidential library and things like that, will be the fact that he advocated for the alphabet community, which is at the worst thing that could happen for the black community, is that he's advocating for the alphabet community. Now, does it matter whether he's white or black, or does it matter the people that actually voted for him to be in office? You got Biden in office right now, which is basically Barack Obama 2.0, except for Biden can't articulate himself and he's not as smooth as Obama, so he can't sell it the same way, right? And Biden is literally selling y'all out, right? He even sold y'all on the idea that you're not even black if you didn't vote for him. Or the fact that he told you that he would get student loans canceled in order to really be able to get y'all to stay under the thumb and the duress that's not best for you. They sold you on the fact that orange man bad. So does it matter whether he's white, or does it matter the people that actually put him into office? These legislators are just a reflection of the people that voted for them, right? So when I hear this stupid ass argument, it doesn't justify anything that she's saying. All it does is say that she has a need to be right.
Simple question: was he white or black, Charlamagne?
And Mr. Elder, you said you talked about
and she thinks she cooked. And she thinks she cooked.
I find that interesting because when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males. What do you think about that?
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, the percentage of mass shooters is under that. The percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. The percentage of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that of mass shootings.
You specifically talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, well, what about the mass shooters that are usually white males?
One more time. They are usually white males because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. About 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population. They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of.
Larry Elder is cooking. I don't know how we can disagree with that. How do we disagree with the fact that Larry Elder is cooking? 100%. You can't be 13.6% of the population committing the majority of the crimes. And then a lot of times we don't even classify a lot of the stuff that we see happening in the black community as mass shootings. Every single drive-by is a fucking mass shooting. Every single crowd that these dudes bust in is a mass shooting. Just because it doesn't get the highlight. Listen, it was a dude in Philadelphia that primarily existed within a black neighborhood. He was a black man. He had on a vest. He was a zesty. He just so happened to be a trans woman. And the dude was walking around shooting fucking everything up. And we did not classify that as a mass shooting at all. Every single day, everything that happens in the hood is a fucking mass shooting, but we don't classify it as such. You can't have 13.6% of the population committing the majority of the crimes and then don't think that it's an issue with our community because you want to play identity politics. I don't believe in that, bro.
Violent crime, we overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm gonna keep asking you that because I want.
Well,
like,
it seems to me rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city, you want to blame. You want me to talk about how bad white people are, which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI says.
Well, I just told you if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
But
choice
they still
but
were
to do it
living
ourselves.
below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
What does that have to do with systemic racism causing crime? And they moving the goalposts in order to justify their argument. Listen, Larry Elder is cooking. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for y'all to be able to come up and give whatever opinion that y'all want. I'm going to read the super chats after the show because I want to give you guys an opportunity to say whatever it is that you want to say. But let's be clear. Larry Elder is cooking them all day long. I cannot play the whole video. I cannot break down the whole video because I know that it's, I have reasons for YouTube purposes or whatever. Larry Elder is washing them. And instead of them addressing what it is that he's saying, they're trying to move the goalposts in order to justify an argument. You can't. You got to substantiate your argument.
Getting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward on
Well,
system.
can I just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black...
She thought that she was just going to get that off and then move it on by saying whatever it is that she wanted to say. And Larry ain't having that shit. Larry said, nah, we going to talk about it.
Black kid to be raised in a family without...
I'm going to pin the link to the top of the chat.
A father in the home, a strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlamagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made black people...
Woo-wee! That boy is cooking. And I don't see nobody supporting Black Lives. Hey, how come we have all of these people? I just pinned it to the top of the chat. How come we have all of these people supporting these platforms, but then don't nobody want to actually fess up and say that they donated to Black Lives Matter? They got all of that money from somewhere. Don't nobody want to fess up to the fact that they voted for Biden. Now everybody is all of a sudden against Biden. Let me play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to start bringing y'all up here because I want to get y'all thoughts.
Will still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
All those things have always been under attack by white supremacy. You can go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa race massacres. Like every time black people do create these systems that are our systems and we are the entrepreneurs, it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every time, look, the Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even called the Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. It was rebuilt, by the way, by black people without one.
And he bringing fucking facts. So that means that all of this shit that y'all keep spewing on the internet is not even an accurate reflection of what happened. They didn't even call it Black Wall Street. And that I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that it wasn't called Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt.
One dime of government money.
Yeah, but who destroyed it to begin with?
It was racists who destroyed it. No question about it.
We've
had race riots, but so have Japanese.
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused. Mr. Elder.
See, Envy know he out of his fucking wheelhouse, so he just sitting there. We know that Envy is. We know who DJ Envy is. We're not even going to address that. I'm gonna bring y'all up shortly. Give me a second.
Never even came close to saying. I never came. I never came close. I never came close to saying there was no racism.
You just saying you don't think it's systemic racism.
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called Jim Crow.
That destroyed black. Hold on, sir. That was
I'm
the
sorry?
system that destroyed. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants. Because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on: do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was time to build it back,
I said it wasn't,
there was no racism.
I said it wasn't.
No, he said it's not racism now, and so it's selective hearing in order to justify an argument. He said that racism existed, and that was the system, which is one of the reasons why you had slavery. But there's no excuse for what it is that you're doing now to yourself. You're worse off than you ever been, but you're freer than you ever been, and so you can't keep blaming it on white people in order for you to be able to justify your argument. At some point, you're gonna have to take responsibility for what it is that you're doing. I don't know how they don't know that they're on the wrong side of this argument. I'm gonna bring y'all up.
Let's talk about.
So what are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I just make this point, Charlamagne, please? Let's take Chinese Americans. Chinese Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an Immigration Act in the late 1800s. They had riots against Chinese in L.A., in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock, and a strong belief in education and a strong belief in entrepreneurship. These are the kinds of qualities that make people successful.
You can't blame.
Larry Elder is. Fuck! Is it possible to get Larry Elder on the show? What do I got to donate in order to get Larry Elder to interview? I got to get that in person, though.
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever
Well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And
Yo, that got to be some of the most disrespectful shit that I've ever heard somebody say. Because what he tried to do, and I'm gonna let Larry cook. I'm gonna play it. Basically, what he tried to do was he tried to tell him that you a coon.
Exactly.
He basically tried to call him a coon.
Oh, Larry about to get on him.
But nah, see, somebody need to check Charlamagne, because on some real dude literally was accused of facilitating a statutory rape, man. And he admittedly said, this young underage girl was my friend. I invited her to my party. He takes no blame in it. This is facts, bro. It's all on YouTube. And it's out of his mouth. And people don't whitewash this shit. Like, they just pushed it under the rug. Like, dude, you did some fuck nigga shit. Period.
That's some disrespectful shit. Let me play it.
I'm gonna put it all together for you, Anton. I'm gonna put all the videos together for you.
Okay.
You big enough to get it out here. I'm not.
All right, let me see what he about to say. Let me see what Larry has to say.
when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney. because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black unless you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
I mean, for the record, I'm not
Yeah. Cook them. Cook them right quick.
a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what you
Democrats.
are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but you are black.
Absolutely.
And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black people, black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump? How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did.
As I said to him in that moment, it's just about me wanting something for my people, and I wanted.
No. That's a cook, bro. That's that is a Walter White, Breaking Bad, intelligent cook, bro. You know what?
Look at the response.
Let me say. Well, let me finish. Let me hear a little bit more of this. I don't want to play it like that, but I'm gonna hear a little bit more of it.
What is he going to do for my people, and not only for my people now? How are you going to atone for the things you've done to my people?
Right.
That's it.
Right. And this is a guy, Joe Biden, who, when he first got into the Senate, hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them.
It sounded like he did what he did. All right. So here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. And this is just my personal opinion. And I'm gonna rotate you guys out because I want to get different people up here. I want them to be able to get their thoughts on too, and I want to get y'all opinion too. Honestly, I think that the people that think like Charlamagne the God is the real coons.
For sure.
I think that the very ones that say a Negro wake up call, that always calling people coons and shit like that, I think that they the real coons.